It's a cage in someone's bedroom. A golden hamster, the same kind you can buy at a pet store, just gave birth a few hours ago. A litter of tiny pink blind babies squirming in the bedding, and the mother picks one up and eats it. Not because she's sick, not because something went wrong. In lab studies tracking dozens of litters, researchers found this happens in roughly 3 out of every 4 births, and most of it happens within the first 5 days. If you've ever owned a hamster, nobody warned you about this part. We grow up with one image of mother baked into us: devoted, protective, the one who'd do anything to keep her babies alive. And for most mammals, most of the time, that's exactly true. So what do you do with the fact that across the mammal world, from the pet hamster on a kid's nightstand to some of the largest predators on Earth, mothers and fathers sometimes eat their own children? Not as some rare horror story exception, as a documented, repeating, almost routine part of how some species raise families. This is the story of why, and by the end, maternal instinct is going to look a lot less simple than you thought. Let's go back to that hamster cage, because it gets stranger. If researchers artificially added extra pups to a litter, more than the mother would normally have, she didn't just struggle to feed them all, she ate more of them, almost like she was correcting the number back down to whatever she considered the right size for her body. And it goes further. Syrian hamsters, a close relative, have been observed selectively eating pups of one specific sex, depending on the season. On shorter days, signaling a harsher winter ahead, mothers shift toward producing more male pups while eating more of the females. A mother hamster can apparently read the calendar and decide which of her children get to live based on the sex they were born. This isn't hunger, this isn't an accident, it's quality control, running on a biological clock. But hamsters aren't unique. Rats do something similar, just triggered differently. In lab colonies, mother rats are far more likely to eat a pup that's weak, sick, or undersized. And the rate of this jumps sharply under stress: overcrowding, frequent handling, a cage that gets moved around too much. Here's the logic underneath both of these. A sick or doomed pup isn't just a baby that might die. It's a source of disease that could spread to its healthy litter mates, and it's calories that are about to be wasted either way. Eating it does 2 things at once. It removes the threat, and it returns the investment back to the mother's body, where it can go toward pups who actually have a chance. It's brutal. It's also, from the body's point of view, efficient. Now, take that same logic and scale it up to something much bigger. Brown bears and polar bears are, by reputation, some of the most devoted mothers in the animal kingdom. A mother bear will fight off animals many times her size to protect her cubs. And yet, during seasonal famine, when food simply isn't there for anyone, there are documented cases of mothers consuming their own cubs. Not because the bond broke, because in that moment, a starving mother with a dead or dying cub is facing a choice between 2 outcomes. Walk away from calories her body desperately needs, or use them, and live to have cubs again next year when conditions are better. This is the pattern running underneath every example so far. A parent's body and a parent's reproductive future are both limited resources, and evolution doesn't reward sentiment. It rewards whatever gets the most surviving offspring into the next generation, even when the path there runs straight through one of your own children. So, if this logic is everywhere, why doesn't every mammal do this? Because for some animals, the math never works out that way. Take elephants. A female elephant has 1 calf roughly every 4 to 5 years, raised inside a tight herd where the entire group, mothers, aunts, grandmothers, helps protect every single baby. There is no documented case anywhere of a mother elephant eating her calf. None. That calf represents years of investment from an entire social network, not just one animal's body. There's nothing to withdraw. The cost of losing it is already shared, and the cost of replacing it is enormous. Dolphins are similar. A bottlenose dolphin mother has a calf every 2 to 5 years, and for the first weeks of its life, she barely sleeps, staying constantly close. No documented maternal cannibalism has ever been recorded in this species. And then there's the species that should really catch your attention: bonobos. For decades, bonobos were the example everyone pointed to as the peaceful primate, gentle, cooperative, nothing like their more aggressive chimpanzee cousins, who are well known for killing and sometimes eating infants. Then, in 2010, researchers documented the first confirmed case of a bonobo eating a dead infant. The peaceful species wasn't immune after all. It was just rare enough that, until that point, nobody had caught it happening. And that's the honest footnote to this whole story. Never is doing a lot of work in that word. What we can say with confidence is that animals with very long gaps between births, strict monogamy, and intense shared parental care, elephants, dolphins, gibbons, giraffes, almost never do this in any documented case because for them, every single offspring is irreplaceably expensive. There's simply nothing to gain and everything to lose. So where does this actually live? Is there a literal switch in the brain between protect and consume? In 2023, researchers studying mice found something close to exactly that. Deep in the brain sits a region called the medial preoptic area, the control center for parental care. Right next to it sits another cluster of cells that does the opposite. When activated, it drives a mother to attack and kill her own pups. These two circuits actively suppress each other. After giving birth, the parental care circuit surges and shuts the other one down almost completely. But when researchers artificially blocked that parental care circuit, the opposite behavior returned almost instantly. And when they directly activated the other circuit, mothers who'd been calmly caring for pups moments earlier turned on them. Same brain, same animal, one switch flipped in either direction. And here's the part that connects all of this back to us. Anthropologists studying infanticide across human cultures have found strikingly similar patterns to the ones we just walked through, clustering around illness, around resources, around circumstances where a family simply cannot support a child. Different species, different scale, but the same cold, cost-benefit logic running quietly underneath. So, no, a mother eating her own young isn't a malfunction, and it isn't madness. For a hamster, a rat, or a starving bear, it's one of the coldest, most consistent expressions of the same rule that governs everything else in nature. Get as many of your genes as possible into the future by whatever path is open to you. For elephants and dolphins, that path runs through decades of devotion, with no exit ramp at all. For a hamster correcting her litter size, it runs through her own mouth. Same rule, completely different outcome, depending on how expensive and how replaceable each child really is.